Hello and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Thursday Thoughts? What on earth are they, I hear you ask? Well, my friend Lucy and I meet every week over on Instagram to talk all things personal growth because she is as obsessed with it as I am. And we decided that we might as well put those conversations out as a weekly podcast. So now you can listen to us chat here on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be talking about topics such as spirituality, limiting beliefs, the ego, imposter syndrome, gratitude, meditation, confidence, and so much more. So if you're ready, here we go.
I'll pass this over to you because this is your idea.
Well, I don't know where I plucked it from, but it came from somewhere. Yeah, making excuses. Well, we all do it. We all make excuses all the time about why we can't do something or why we can do something. We're the king and queens of excuses, and I don't know. I think it might just be quite a juicy topic to dive into because it's kind of like, why do we do it? Why do we make excuses rather than just? But you know, it can be on two parts. It can be making an excuse for not doing the thing that actually
needs
you
doing.
want to get done, or you're making an excuse that you are doing something which perhaps you know isn't particularly helpful, like, oh, I'm just going to have another glass of wine because I'm really, really tired and I've had a full day. So you're making another excuse why you can do that. So it's just an interesting one to consider, I think, and dive into why do we do this. And I think, you know, a lot of the time when we make an excuse for not doing something which you know, ultimately we've kind of planned for, because we know that that's going to move us forwards in some way towards a goal. But when actually it comes around and we've actually got to do the thing, and it kind of feels a little bit uncomfortable and it feels like, oh, I don't really want to do it. I just want to sit over here and sit on the sofa and watch another episode of something. It's because really we're just avoiding what we're doing because we're either scared or we just don't want to put ourselves out of that comfort zone. So we're all very good at doing that. I'm particularly good at doing that. It's that sort of whole thing of like, oh no, I just need to not do that right now. And I just, you know, procrastination, I suppose, is a great form of just making excuses to yourself. I'm just going to go and do the washing because that really needs to be done. Or I'm just going to go make myself another cup of coffee because that really needs to get done. And then you don't get it done, and then you make the excuses again to yourself going, oh, well, I was just actually really tired, or I was just really busy, or I just didn't have enough time. We're the master of it. So maybe we could like dive into that a little bit and then maybe see if we can this week come up with anything useful to say to help everybody to avoid that from happening.
Totally. No, I mean, it's a classic, isn't it? And I think I said before you came on that I'm a professional at making excuses. And it's so funny because my friend Pip, who I do another podcast with, Three Single Women, and Pip and I voice note all the time. And we were laughing in our voice notes the other day and actually, Polly, I'd be interested to see what you think about this, because we were saying how one of the things that we detest more than anything else when it comes to podcasts, and I because she said it first and then I was like, oh my God, I feel exactly the same way. For whatever reason, we cannot bear recording our intro and outros to the podcast. It is the one thing that I will literally do anything else. And it doesn't take very long. It's literally just like, hi, welcome to another episode of Thrive Solo, blah, 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 blah. You know, it takes minutes, but I will make excuses as to why I can't do that in the moment. And Pip and I were laughing because we were basically saying that we would rather hoover the fucking ceiling than record our intros. It's like, yeah, actually, I really need to hoover the ceiling. That is my excuse. And it's so crazy, isn't it?
Can I just ask Lucy on that?
Yeah.
So what is it about recording your intro and your outro that you are trying to avoid? What is it? Why are you making the excuses?
Do you know,
have you dived into that?
Pip and I were trying to work this out, because the crazy thing is it's not a particularly time-consuming thing. It's not difficult. For some reason, it just pains me, because I don't even know why, because all I have to do is, for some reason, I find it a real ball ache to sit down and write the little script for the intro. You don't have to write a script, but I tend to, because I just like being able to, you know, read it and record it in one kind of thing. And I think it's because I always have to sort of go and look up, you know, it's things like Polly Warren, who is a breathwork facilitator, and blah 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 blah. You know, you have to find out those things about people, and not that that's a big deal, but it feels, for some reason, it feels like such an effort, and it's ridiculous because it's really not much of an effort. I'm like making it into much more of an effort than it has to be, but like I say, I will come up with an excuse after excuse after excuse as to why I just can't do this right this minute, even though it would just be so much easier to get it done. God knows what it is about that particular thing. But one other thing on the whole sort of topic of making excuses, I think this is a really, really big one. One of the major excuses that so many of us use for why we're not doing the thing that we need to or want to do is that, well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. I'm not ready. And I really think this is huge, and it's something that you and I'm sure we probably talked about on here before. And one of my favorite things to say is that done is better than perfect. And when it comes to starting something or doing something that we really don't want to do, that we're making excuses to not do it, ask yourself, are you making excuses because you feel like you are not ready to do the thing that you want or need to do? Because if that is the case, then we just have to frickin' start. We're never going to be ready. So I think this is one of the sort of big things within this topic, that we make excuses that we're not ready, we're not prepared enough.
Yeah, we don't know enough.
We don't know enough. We haven't done enough courses. We haven't done this. We haven't done that. And actually, the truth is that, you know, clarity comes with action. We just have to frickin' start. Yeah. You know.
Oh, I know that one so well. That is one of my big excuses which I make. It's like, I'm just not ready, or I don't know how. I don't know how to do that. And actually, the how kind of makes its way clear when you just start. You just start doing it. I have had just on my list for such a long time to record just like a little mini series. It's really small, low cost offer, to help people breathe more efficiently, breathe better. I know it. I know my stuff. I know what I wanted to say, but my goodness, it's just been hanging over me. So last week I just started and I just sat down and I did it, which I was just like, oh God, thank God. You know, I was annoying myself that I wasn't doing. Anyway, I did it. I uploaded it all. And now, I mean, I don't know if this is a good thing, but actually I think it's the right thing to do, because actually I then listened to it through. It's not very long. And at the weekend, I was like, oh my God, I didn't say this. I didn't say this. I could have said this. I could have done this. But actually, if I had just done this whole process so much sooner, I would have realised that, and then I would have and I am going to tweak it, and I am going to change it, because actually now I realise, oh right, I've now got the momentum going, and it's like, I know how to make it so much better. But unless, you know, if I had just started sooner, I could have just got to that part so much quicker, made those tweaks, got it done. And that's the thing, it doesn't have to be perfect first time you do it. And, you know, part of me is saying, oh, maybe I should just get it out there. But actually, because I know how to make it better, and I know I've now got my momentum going, it's not going to take me long. I'm going to do it today, make the changes, and then I can get it out there. But it's just that just taking that first step, and not worrying too much about, as you say, the perfection. It's just, you know, done is better than perfect. And then if you don't quite know the how, just do it anyway. And then the how, like I've just noticed with this, what I've just done, I've noticed, oh, actually, I'm going to do it like this. It's a bit better. But because when I started, it's much, much clearer. So it's just, and so I'm annoyed with myself now. Why did I just not do this ages ago? But it's like anything. It's just a reminder, like, that just get going, just do it. Stop making the excuses, because clarity will come. Clarity comes with action.
It's so true. It's just such a great point. And I found this to be the case in my life more than once, which is exactly that. You know, clarity does come from taking action. We have to take the action. And because we, you know, if we're doing something new, like take, I don't know, starting a podcast like both you and I did. And when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. I hadn't worked out at that point it was going to be 3 episodes a week. You and I were going to do this. There was going to be a guest. You know, it's when you actually start doing the thing, when you just let go of the excuses and you just start, that is how you learn. You can, and also it's perfectly fine to start something and not know how you're going to do it, but when you start it, you freaking find out. Like, you figure it out. This is the other thing. You know, when you just take the first step, you figure it out along the way. But we what we want, I think, is sort of certainty of it's going to go like this, and this. But it never goes like that. You have to start the goddamn thing and then work out as you're going along how, you know, the next step and the next step and the next step. Really, you know, we've talked about baby steps on this before, and it really is so true. You've just got to take that first step and then the next and the next, and each of the steps will become clear once you've taken the step before. But yeah, I mean, I wonder, I think a lot of the time we make excuses because we're scared. But actually going on to the sort of other side of this, which is when we make excuses for doing something that we know isn't good for us. And like, take the, you know, you mentioned the drinking thing. My God, I am a fucking queen of why it's okay for me to have another glass of wine, or why it's okay for me to buy the share bag of giant Cadbury's Dairy Milk buttons. And, you know, it's hilarious how we do this. And I think the first step to actually changing this is to kind of recognize when we're doing it, and like literally like laugh at ourselves and kind of roll our eyes at ourselves and be like, oh my God, what are you doing, you absolute lunatic? Do you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, for me, I tell you what mine is. It's, oh my gosh, M&S chocolate eclairs. I freaking love them. They're like, they are so good. And I will go out of my way sometimes to go and find an M&S, to go and get them. And I now notice when I do, I notice it when I'm feeling like I deserve it. You know, if maybe, you know, it's often when I'm feeling like I need a bit of love, or I need a bit of comfort and a bit of that sort of feeling, and I find that at the bottom of a chocolate eclair bag. But it's so interesting when you do it, because I'm so aware of that's what I'm doing, but there's something which comes over me that I still go and do it, and I then make the excuses, well, I deserve it. But then the moment I've eaten them, I'm like, oh God, you've done it again. You know, it's so annoying. And you know, sometimes we have to give ourselves a bit of a break and not beat ourselves up too much. But it is interesting how we are, the stories that we can tell ourselves.
Yeah.
How powerful they are, and how we can really excuse ourselves for doing things which really we know aren't particularly good for us. It's
totally. I know, it is hilarious. And one of the I think of it as like, I have a devil on one shoulder and I have an angel on the other, and way too often the devil part of me wins over. It's like it completely overrides the angel part of me that is trying to like live a good life and, you know, be this and be healthy and be that and blah 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 blah. But so often that devil voice will just win over and completely like drown out the angel on my other shoulder. But speaking of the things that, like you were saying about your chocolate eclair thing, one thing that I am so brilliant at doing is I'll get to Friday and, like, say, for example, I don't know, let's say, in fact, last week is a good example of this, right? Last week, I was up in London at the beginning of last week. So I didn't start my Monday. I started Monday off in London. So I was out of my routine. I didn't have like my workout stuff because I was staying at my sister's for a couple of nights. And then I got back, and then the next day, kind of, you know, then it was like Wednesday and I hadn't done like a workout. And then what I do is I will, as we kind of get to Wednesday, Thursday, I'm so good at saying to myself, well, it's not fucking worth it now. So, you know, I'll start again on Monday. I'm like I would win an award for saying that. Like, you know, it's fine, I'll start it again on Monday. And I have started it again on Monday. And of course, what inevitably happens is that you always feel so much better when you do the thing that you know is good for you. And so I think it really is just recognizing that and bringing that awareness, and just like kind of, yeah, like I said, rolling your eyes at yourself and going, Lucy, what the hell are you doing, you absolute muppet? Don't do this. Do you know what? I actually I've been doing this on and off for years, but I've started doing it again now because I'm so good at making excuses to not do my strength training or my rebounding. So I started sleeping in my workout gear, which is the best for anyone out there. I swear to God, it is the best hack, because this is an excuse I will make, right? So I'll get up at 5, as you know, and it's inevitably freezing, and I'm in my pajamas, and I put my dressing gown on, I put like a cardi on, da 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 da. And then I do cock-a-doodle-oo at 6, my morning routine club, and then it's amazing how I can just go in my mind, I'm not going to work out because I can't bear the thought of putting my leggings on because it's really cold and it's just so painful, like peeling these leggings on in the freezing cold. So you know what? I'll freaking wear them to bed and then they're on and I've got no excuse. So that's what I did last night. I wore my leggings. I literally wore my entire workout gear.
Funny.
It really works. So it really works. We have to like trick ourselves. We have to like make it easier for ourselves to not make excuses.
Yeah.
Like even if it means laying out your workout gear, you like make it easy for yourself to not make the excuse. What can you do the day before or whatever it is? What can you do to just make it less easy to make those excuses and to make it easier to not make them?
It's so true. It's so true. And I mean, for me, getting out of bed, I actually have to get out of bed the moment the alarm goes. I can't think about it. I have to just get up. Because if I start thinking about it, then actually I just, it's so warm and cozy and I find it really hard. So it's like, get up. And I generally do lay my workout stuff out as well before I get straight into it. I recently have been making a huge amount of excuses about running. So my relationship with running is so up and down, and Giles has been doing so much running, although he's injured at the moment, which isn't great, but he's been doing so much running, and I love it when I'm running and when I'm fit and when I feel good. But recently I've just sort of really let it slide. I've been doing lots of strength, but not so much running, and I've been making excuse after excuse about why I'm not running, but in the same breath going, but I really, really want to run. And so Giles was just like, can you just either stop talking about it or just do something about it, because it's actually really annoying. So actually, for me, I find what works really well to stop the excuses is just to decide what is it it's really to get clear on the goal. What is it I'm actually trying to achieve? Why do I want to run? Rather than just saying, I really want to run. Well, I want to run because I love that feeling of being outdoors, having good cardiovascular fitness, being with the dog. I can kill about 5 stones with 5 birds with 1 stone. I can be outside, I can walk the dog, I can get fit, I can get the sunlight, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I can't actually find a half marathon to do, but I've just printed off a training plan for a half marathon, 16 weeks, and I started it. And I'm on week 2, and for me that totally works because I can cross off each run, and it's starting really gently, so it's really enjoyable. I was like, I don't want to push myself to this point where I'm not going to want to do it. So it started really gently, and I'm just crossing each one off. So I did one this morning, just half an hour, really nice. Took the dog with me, and so that can be a really handy tip as well. It's just like, right, work out what do you want, and then just try to get a little plan in place. How are you going to do it? And I've told Giles, right, I'm doing it. And so now, actually, if I don't do it, I'll feel even more shit about it. So and he keeps asking me about it. Oh, how's it going? So I'm accountable. I've got that accountability. I've got to stop making those excuses and just do it. And actually, of course, it makes me feel great. Yeah. I'm loving it. It's good. And it just needs to get out of your own way and out of the bullshit stories that we tell ourselves.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Totally. Also, another way to kind of trick ourselves, and this can go for something like running, or it can go for, I don't know, writing a book or doing the thing that you really want to do that you keep making excuses to why you can't do it. I think so often what happens is that we get majorly overwhelmed by looking at the whole thing. So it's like, oh my God, this just, like, oh, I'm meant to be running 3 times a week. This just, for 45 minutes or whatever. I mean, that's clearly I'm not doing that, but it's that. I think we can sort of trick ourselves by just saying to ourselves, okay, you know what? I've said I'm going to start running again, or I've said I'm going to start writing that book. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I'm just going to put my running gear on and I'm going to walk for 1 minute down the street. And inevitably, you're probably going to walk for another minute and then you might like jog for a bit. And like when it comes to, say, writing a book, like you can say, okay, I'm so sick of my excuses that what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I'm just going to sit down at my laptop and I'm going to write for 5 minutes. I'm going to write one sentence. That's it, one sentence. Because so often when we're making excuses, if we just make it really, really hard to make those excuses by saying, I'm going to walk for 1 minute down the road, or I'm going to write one sentence, then, what happens more often than not is that we kind of, once we get going, it's kind of fine. So, right, if you feel like you're making excuses for something, just think of what is the tiniest thing that you can possibly do that is the first teeny tiny step in whatever it is that you're making excuses for. And it might be that you're making excuses as to why you're not eating healthily or something like that, and you could say, okay, well, today I'm going to allow myself that microwave meal I know is really unhealthy, but I'm also going to have like a handful of edamame beans on the side or something. I don't know where that came from, but well, actually I do, because I love edamame beans. But do you know what I mean? It's like, it's doing something, doing the smallest possible thing that you can. So you really cannot find an excuse to not do that.
Yeah.
Like me with my bloody intros and outros, it's like, just sit down and Google the website of the guest.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you've got to do. And then if I then stop, fine, but the likelihood is that I'm probably going to then just write the fucking intro and record it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the small wins, really acknowledging those small wins, and they really will give you that momentum just to get the thing done. Because ultimately, I mean, deadlines are good. I find deadlines very good because you can't make an excuse. You've just got to do it. I mean, I suppose that's with work, but you can do that with fitness. Give yourself a deadline or a challenge to complete. That's why I quite like signing up to events, because you get this challenge that you've got to complete. So again, you can't give yourself those excuses. I was just thinking about healthy eating then, because I agree. I think adding in something healthy, just something small, rather than removing something, just add in something.
Yeah.
That is going to be the best possible way, because it's going to make you feel great that you've added in something. And the more you add in something healthy, hopefully the less crap you're going to want to eat, because you're really noticing the benefits. And I think that's the mistake a lot of us make with eating. We feel like we've got to take stuff out, and that never works, because then we feel deprived. It makes us want it even more. So yeah, adding in is a nice one, Lucy. I like that. I'm just trying to think what else is a good way to try and stop ourselves from making those excuses. I think maybe just getting really super clear on what actually you want, and really honing in on that and getting super clear on that, and the why behind it, the why behind the why are you doing it, why do you want it? And the more you can focus in on that, the less crap you're going to tell yourself.
And also another thing that's just occurred to me is we were talking about, make it easy, but also make it hard as well to like do the thing that you're making excuses to do. So for example, taking the wine, which I'm a professional at, and so I will always know what time like the supermarket closes if I don't have any wine left, right? I know in the back of my mind what time the supermarket closes. So if I just don't let myself go before it closes, and then it's closed, and what I mean is making it harder, because then I've got to work harder to go to another shop that's further away to get the wine. So make it hard on you. Make it harder to make the excuse to do the thing that you don't want to do, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, and every time you do that, you're just taking back a little bit more control of your own life. You're just taking back more control of doing the things which you want to do. And I mean, it all boils really down to awareness, as everything always does, just noticing what is it your mind is telling you, noticing those stories, that narrative which is going on internally, and what it's trying to, and why you're trying to get it. Like we said, like with my chocolate eclairs, it's kind of like almost like a comfort thing. It's like a big hug. It's like trying, okay, what can I do instead, which is going to give me what I'm actually searching for in those chocolate eclairs, or or in the glass of wine. What is it? And sometimes with the, I mean, for me as well, with the wine, with the drinking, it's that connection. It's that kind of, you associate it with something, with, I don't know, it's just, again, it's a comfort thing, isn't it? It's bored, it's such a nice thing to do at the end of the day. So can you find something else which is going to give you those same feelings? And it's almost a retraining of your brain that, okay, it doesn't have to be the wine. It could be that I'm actually going to really treat myself, go and have a really nice bath, get in my jammies, snuggle up, I don't know.
I could just have some vodka instead.
So tequila.
Exactly. I'll just have spirits then. Fine, whatever. One thing that just occurred to me while you were talking then is and this is one reason why I love meditation so much, because meditation helps you to separate yourself from your thoughts. Because actually, even if we're having the thought of, I want to have that extra glass of red wine, even if we're having that, like, we don't have to succumb to that thought. We don't have to identify with that thought. And it's sometimes a case of, and this is what meditation does, it just allows yourself to separate yourself from the thought, realize that you are not the thought. You do not have to obey the thought. You do not have to take any notice of the thought. And this is obviously, with meditation, it's a practice of separating yourself from the thoughts and being that witness and being that observer. So when you find yourself making excuses, can you get into that observer, that witness state where you're just witnessing those thoughts as they come into your mind? It's like, how interesting. I can feel myself making excuses again for why I'm going to have another glass of wine. That's interesting.
Looking at that thought with curiosity rather than judgment. So rather than looking at that thought and going, oh my God, why am I doing this again? And being really down on yourself. Look at it with real curiosity. As you said, isn't that interesting? And getting kind of just feeling into what it is, what is that sort of urge? And generally, when you do that, if you sit with the discomfort of not having the thing, not following through on that urge, actually within a bit of time it does pass. It will pass. So it's really about how long can you sit in that discomfort, because it does feel uncomfortable. We want something, we'll see it, we'll want to get it. I mean, I will see it with my daughter particularly, and I do think a lot of kids nowadays, they want something, and unless they get it right now, it's like, oh my God. And I am constantly saying to her, look, just sit with that for a bit. You don't need it now, whatever it is. She wanted to have highlights done in her hair. And I was like, and she wants it like now. And I was like, well, no, you're not having it now. And anyway, I said to her, well, you're going to have to pay for it. Anyway, no, she had no money. Anyway, to her credit, she's gone and sold a load of her clothes on Vinted and made enough money. But again, I'm just letting her sit with it. Do you really want that? Because, and she is going to get it done. But it is that sort of like, I want that now. I want it now, and I'm going to get it now. But it's actually sit with that. No, you don't. Actually really think about it. And then if you still do really, really want it, go and get it. But just see if that feeling might pass. Quite often it will.
Yeah. And I think flipping it around to when you're making excuses for something that you do want to do, you can do the same thing, can't you? But flip it around. Like, notice, what is it that is making you feel uncomfortable about that thing that you know that you want to do, and sitting with that discomfort and thinking, well, actually, would it excuse me, I've got a real frog in my throat this morning. Would it be the worst thing if I just sat here and did this for 5 minutes? But yeah, I think it does always boil down to awareness, as we always say.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think that is pretty much everything. And I've got on excuses this morning. Just maybe set yourself a challenge. I'm going to maybe set myself a challenge today. Stop making the excuses, to see if I can, when I need to do something, just do it, just get it done, and see how often I could. And also, I suppose, just become aware of how often do you make excuses for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is on the dot of 9:30, so it's been a joy as ever, and we'll be back this time next week talking about God knows what.
Amazing. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you. Lots of love. Speak to you later. Bye. Bye. Bye.